male loneliness epidemic, men need to be lonelier. Like, for real. Then they all can sing together and maybe do some reflection on their thoughts and actions and realize why they're there. It's like a prolonged timeout that should just last, like, for the rest of their lifetime. For real.
There's no male loneliness epidemic. You're just a fucking weirdo. Contrary to popular belief, most women do like being around men. They just don't want to be around you because they think you're going to touch them without consent. And the crazy part is, you probably will.
Dude, men are fucking lonely, bro. People don't seem to understand that. 77% of suicides, men. Every 5 minutes, a man commits suicide. Dude, like, who's gonna fucking step up and be like, yo, I got you guys? There's a couple guys, but obviously they're getting censored. Community is extremely important.
There's a man up here that posted and said, we aren't having a male loneliness epidemic. It's natural selection. No one is choosing you because you don't have the things that would make a very good next generation. It's not male loneliness. It is inadequacy and incompetence. And honestly, probably something about the way you look just doesn't sit right with people.
So apparently there's this male loneliness epidemic that's going on. And there's a lot of opinions whether this male loneliness epidemic is real or it's just something made up.
The male loneliness epidemic is real, and I'm tired of people saying that it's not. Men, but particularly young men, are hurting. 1 out of every 7 men say they have 0 close friends. Women now outnumber men 60% to 40% in higher education. And because men are more likely to drop out, pretty soon there will be 2 female graduates to every male graduate. Women are becoming doctors and lawyers at far higher percentages than men. There are now more single female homeowners in the United States than men. For the first time in American history, the unemployment rate for college-educated males is the same as non-college-educated males. Boys are twice as likely to be suspended when compared to girls for the same infraction, 5 to 10 times as likely if you're a black boy. Broken women hurt themselves, but broken men hurt others and end themselves. Males have a 4 times higher rate of unaliving themselves when compared to women. And the single largest risk to a male under 40 is himself. I am not pointing fingers. This is not women's fault. This is not men's fault. It's our fault. More probably, it's the people before us's fault. But it is our job to fix it. If you thought it was hard to find a good man now, it's only going to get harder over the next decade. Instead of blaming an angry and disenfranchised teenage boy for the sins of his forefathers, telling them to shut up and acknowledge their privilege. Do you know who isn't doing that? Do you know who is acknowledging their pain, validating their feelings as they stare down the barrel of lower economic mobility that we have ever seen in American history? In a world where healthy masculinity is not being pushed, they are the people online who are telling them that their life sucks because of women, or of people with different sexual orientation, or because of immigrants. They're the ones profiting by selling them courses on how to get rich with day trading and drop shipping. And when these young boys finally feel heard from these people, then of course they listen. This is not to say that women have it so easy in 2025, or that women's issues are somehow less important than men's issues. Empathy is not zero-sum. We absolutely can tackle multiple things at the same time. And we are also on the same team. Both men and women should want a world of more secure, financially stable, driven, and less hateful men. But in order to do that, we must first acknowledge that in the data, there are real problems that men specifically are facing that must be tackled head on. Otherwise, we will lose this entire generation of young men to grifters who will radicalize them. And nobody wants that.
If the male loneliness epidemic is a real thing,
it's not a real thing. It's just not. Let me just say to all the dudes out there, if you're one of these guys talking about the male loneliness epidemic and how it's deeply affecting your life, I don't want to know you. You are not the type of dude I want to hang out with. I don't want to be around guys who complain about women not liking them. Like, seriously, my friend group would clown the fuck out of you. Like 30 minutes with me and my buddies, and you would do one of 2 things. 1, you would break down crying and leave. Or 2, you would do what men are supposed to do and man the fuck up. Like, here's the thing. If you're a guy who doesn't take care of himself and doesn't work his ass off and isn't successful, and as a result, women don't want to talk to you, I don't fucking care. Of course women don't want to talk to you. Of course women don't want to be with you. Why the fuck would they? And for all you guys out there that are trying to tie this male loneliness epidemic to like birth rates or whether or not we're going to carry on as a species, in nature, about 15% of the male population of any creature carries on their DNA. 85% die off. Just because women don't like you doesn't mean there's a male loneliness epidemic. Just because you can't get laid doesn't mean there's a male loneliness epidemic. Just because you've never built the confidence to actually approach a woman and actually be something she could be interested in, that doesn't mean there's a male loneliness epidemic. Because I'll tell you right now, there is an epidemic. There's an epidemic of bitch-ass dudes thinking they deserve women's attention. Just like there's an epidemic of worthless women thinking they deserve men's attention. Neither of those two groups deserve a fucking thing. You are either attractive to the other gender or whatever gender you're interested in, or you're not. If you're part of the not category, it is on you to do things to make yourself attractive. Nobody owes you love or caring or even the slightest bit of fucking attention. There is no such thing as a male loneliness epidemic. There is an epidemic of people who think they deserve shit. And those people need to shut the fuck up.
Guys never get approached. Imagine being a guy. You guys are out here complaining like, oh, a man's life is so lonely. Do you understand how lonely men are today? Yes, there's a male loneliness epidemic. No, it's not self-inflicted, okay? Have some empathy, some sympathy for these men out here, because it's a lonely world if you're a man. It's a lonely fucking world if you don't make good money. If you're making $50K a year and houses cost $900K, and you're supposed to be the provider, I'm supposed to be the provider, I'm supposed to have a family, but I'm making jack shit. Wages haven't gone up in 30 years. And you know, my female peer, she's making just as much as me. How am I supposed to compete? How am I supposed to take care of my baby? How? So they don't get attention. Imagine being a man right now.
Male loneliness epidemic. Ben, you know we got to be accountable for this, right? Because I only know about this because of men. Men keep talking about there's a male loneliness epidemic going on. Why is that? Has any man actually asked himself why? And is he in tune with reality enough that he can see that it is men's fault? Because I do think that men are trying to point the finger at women as to why there's a male loneliness epidemic, which I thought women were going to be the ones that were going to be alone with a bunch of cats. I thought women were the one to fear that loneliness, being by themselves. But it seems like this male loneliness epidemic has been pulling on the heartstrings of men, if they even have those. Do you honestly think that women would want to be with you? As a man, do you honestly think that women would want to be with you if you are continuously perpetuating the same bullshit that women collectively are trying to dismantle and detach themselves from? The way that you think, the way that you speak, the way that you operate, your day-to-day functions, what you support, your perspectives, your perceptions, your talking points. Do you honestly think that women are not paying attention to those things and removing themselves from anything that aligns with any form of oppression that they are currently trying to dismantle? It makes a lot of sense for women to distance themselves from men, because are men actually trying to do the work? No, they're not. Don't tell me you're complaining about this male loneliness epidemic as you continue to contribute to it, because you're not trying to be the better men. You're not trying to make the hard decision and say, you know what? Fuck the unhealed version of my ego. Fuck all of the unhealed trauma. Let me actually attack this shit. Fuck the misogyny. Fuck the patriarchy. Fuck all that shit. Let me just unpack this shit. Let me actually be better. Let me actually view women as people and human. Versus trying to exercise leverage, abuse women in ways like emotional, mental, financial, physical, and so on and so forth. And if you're doing that, no wonder why your ass is lonely. No wonder why women don't want to be around you. They don't feel safe around you. You don't help it either. You actually make it a lot worse. So we are at fault for this male loneliness epidemic, which I think that is some bullshit, because at the end of the day, with the behavior that men continue to exhibit on a day-to-day basis, it was going to happen this way.
Let's try to define what male loneliness is. What is male loneliness epidemic? Let's try to put a definition, because is it loneliness from not being able to get girls? Is it loneliness from not being able to have any friends? Is it loneliness from not being able to live up to the expectation from your family, from people? What is it? Because if it's loneliness from not being able to get girls, is it because women now have higher standards? If it's loneliness from not being able to have friends, is it because of social media that made us feel more disconnected from one another? Is it loneliness from not being able to live up to expectation because the economy is very hard nowadays? What is it? We have to define these terms and find the root cause of everything, because that's what's leading to the male loneliness epidemic thing.
I want to talk about the male loneliness epidemic, the very idea of it, because I understand one principle. You were never meant to be this alone. I understand that. I truly do. But the world did teach you to mistake starvation for strength. And now that you're collapsing, it's hiding the real crime beneath this phrase. It's not a weather event. It is not an epidemic. This is a 400-year design flaw. I'm about to show you we were wrong. Men weren't starved of love, right? They were robbed of love. They were robbed of themselves. I'm going to tell you what happens to every man. Somebody takes your ability to feel and calls it becoming a man. Somebody takes your need for closeness and renames it weakness. Somebody takes your hunger for connection and replaces it with earning. And then they tell you that a woman is the only place you're allowed to put it all. And then they tell women that they're selfish for not wanting to carry the weight of an entire gender's emotional amputation. That's what they do. But that is not loneliness. By definition, it's not loneliness. It's an identity engineered around exile. And that's the part no man's ready for, because you never lost connection. You never lost connection. You were just never taught how to have any. Not with yourself, not with your father, not with other men, not with your feelings, not with your body, not with grief, not with fear, none of it. None of it. Not with tenderness, and definitely not with truth. And the moment that women stop being the emotional life support system that men were trained to depend on, the whole system starts screaming, huh? It did. And men blame women. But listen, I want you to understand this, because you aren't blaming women because they failed you. I just understand. I just want you to sit steady. Sit steady for a second. You're blaming women because if you blame the system, you have to face the fact that the system stole your entire emotional life before you were old enough to address it. Right? Before you were old enough to fight back. You'd have to face the fact that you were not raised, you were hollowed out. You were hollowed out. You have to face the fact that your rage is grief and armor. The fact that your numbness is a childhood tomb. It's a childhood tomb. The fact that everything you call strength was built on the burial of your humanity. There is no male loneliness epidemic. It doesn't exist. There is only a mass unmarked grave of men who died emotionally at 7 years old and kept walking. That's all that's left right now. That's all that's here. So just so you can stay focused, right? If you ever think you're lonely because women changed, you're lonely because the boy inside you was still locked in that room where crying meant punishment and softness meant shame and asking meant humiliation and silence was the only safe language you were allowed to speak. And that's still not loneliness. It's not loneliness, but it is a hostage situation and nobody came for you. Nobody came for you, right? So just to tell you what won't free you. Blaming women will not free you. Mocking softness will not free you. Performing strength will not free you. Being chosen won't free you. Being wanted won't free you. And being needed won't free you. None of those have the key. None of them have the key, because none of those things give back none of those things give back the self you had to sacrifice just to be considered to be a man. Just to be considered as a man, right? So just to be honest with you, right? Men are not lonely because of women. Period. No, men are lonely because masculinity made orphans out of boys and made the orphanhood manhood. And that's the reality. That's the reality, right? We live in the midst of conquered men. Men who were conquered by other men who they don't have the strength to face. That's the reality we live in. And masculinity abandons the new boy every day. Every day. So unless we work harder as men, I'm telling you what story we're going to live through. Yours. That's what your child's going to live through. Your story. Everything that went wrong in it, because you don't know how to fix it. You never got the emotional literacy. You got to lock in. Right? I'm just being honest with you, right? The only way out of the male loneliness epidemic, if you feel like it's something happening to you, is if you lock inward. Only way is coming out. So
a lot of people are lonely in this day and age because a lot of people aren't in relationships or even having friendships like it used to be. Just 10 years ago, man, life was just a whole lot different. I'm gonna say even 5 years ago, since COVID, that's when everyone just started staying to their self more, because like being on that lockdown trained us to live differently and to be okay with being alone and separated from other people, and even going out in public and doing stuff. People just stay home way more often nowadays, and there's a loneliness epidemic going on, y'all. A lot of people are deciding to leave this world early due to loneliness. And this is my advice for anyone that's going through this, because I definitely am myself too. I feel you, y'all. I'm so damn lonely for the past 4 or 5 years now. Like, I don't even like thinking about it that much, but this is what I do to help myself right here, making content, talking about how I feel, to relate with other people, to help other people, and in return it helps me. It helps me to understand myself better, have more self-awareness. And then in the meantime, I get to help other people too with whatever they might be going through. So if this is you, and you too are going through this epidemic that everyone's living through nowadays, and you're just feeling lonely, man, you want some company, you want some friendship. Social media can only do so much. We need human interaction. Take yourself out, man, like just to be around people. Go to the park and walk around. Go to the mall and walk around. Go anywhere you need to do something that you enjoy doing, whether that's bowling, putt-putt, you know, practice shooting your pistol at the damn shooting range. Just being around other humans and hearing other people talk, even if you don't have conversation, it really does help a lot. It helps you feel less lonely and just more human. So please don't stay inside too much. That is the killer right there. When you're going through isolation and loneliness, and then you just put yourself alone, you feel more lonely, alone, and abandoned, and like, just what's the point in life? And just being out in public and around people and hearing people talk, it is very helpful. So please do that for yourself, all right? And just reach out to people and try to have conversations sometimes. That also helps. I hope that anything I say helps the right people or reaches the right people. And please just know that your life matters and you matter. You are loved and you deserve to live a happy life. Please go try to do that. I love y'all. Bless up.
The male loneliness epidemic is a really fucking stupid term because it completely ignores the other half of the issue. If there is a male loneliness epidemic, then there is by necessity also a female loneliness epidemic, unless everyone is lesbian. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I haven't noticed a spike in the amount of lesbians recently. The question we should be trying to answer is not why are young men lonely, it's why are young people not dating? Why is there seemingly a larger divide between genders in this generation as opposed to the previous ones? Now, I'm not the person to answer this question, but by calling it a male loneliness epidemic, you alienate half of the people who are experiencing this issue. The question should not be why are young men lonely, it should be why are the genders more divided in this generation than they were in the past? Why are young men and young women not dating? Why are people getting married at an older and older age over time? I've heard some people say it's because of the political divide, but I actually think the political divide is a result of this, not the cause. I think men and women being closer together would make them see eye to eye way more often, obviously. Just some food for thought in a way that we should potentially be rephrasing this issue.
Listen, there's no male loneliness epidemic for men who don't hate women. Those of us who love and respect women have no issues. This is a conservative male issue. There's a reason why they are alone. Deal with that.
The male loneliness epidemic is not a real thing. It is a fabrication of lonely women projecting their loneliness onto men. It's a psyop. It's propaganda designed to make men feel inadequate for not having someone, aka not being useful to some woman somewhere. And if for whatever reason you don't believe me, then just follow me down this very simple train of thought. Last I checked, there's only 2 genders on this planet. There's males and there's females, which means the only other gender the males have as companions is the females and vice versa. So it stands to reason that if the males are lonely, then so are the women. Duh. And yet we're made to believe that the men are lonely, but the women aren't. And on top of that, we're made to forget the very obvious here, which is the fact that on a biological level, the males of our species are far better equipped for loneliness or solitude than women are. We talk all the time about how much more social women are than men, how they're far more susceptible to groupthink and in-group influence, how they speak more words per day on average and require more communication, etc. And yet we conveniently forget that whenever we talk about any kind of loneliness epidemic. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, Jace, you just said that women are the far more social creature. Wouldn't they just socialize with themselves as opposed to seek male companionship? And yes, you're right. That actually would be the very logical conclusion to come to. Except for the fact that we have mountains of evidence to show that women hate each other. Every single social experiment conducted with regards to how well women socialize with each other come back with the same results. Whether it's Survivor, when they had the men and the women build their camps separately, whether it's all the entrepreneurs and venture capitalists out there that have tried to create safe spaces and platforms specifically for women, or even all the different social experiments and studies that show the difference in a woman's behavior when she's in front of women versus the opposite sex. They all point to the same thing. Women feel lonely when men aren't around. Hell, they feel lonelier than the men do when women aren't around. And what do I take from all of this? We need each other. It doesn't have to be a tit for tat thing or a back and forth thing. It doesn't have to be a rough negotiation between the sexes. We can just admit that we're better together and encourage each other to make attempts to close the gap. It's me, Jason Forever Scientist. With all this information, what must be done?
It's hard for me to feel bad for incels because most of the people that are like suffering from this male loneliness epidemic are really just a bunch of dudes that are upset that they can't treat women any kind of way and they don't have that entitlement to women's bodies like their dads and their granddads did, because women have more access to resources now. Like a lot more women are going to college, a lot more women have the chance to be like financially stable by themselves and not have to depend on another man, you know what I mean? Like they and instead of leveling up or doing any kind of self-work to make themselves like a viable candidate for like marriage or dating, they just sit back and bitch and moan about how unfair society is and how society lied to them. And it's that last part right there that makes me have no kind of empathy for these dudes, because it's like they sit up and watch red pill content all day, and a lot of the content is where it has like women being held accountable, and it's just really hypocritical because they aren't holding themselves accountable for their bad behaviors and their actions, you know what I'm saying? And it's just it's frustrating because they, no matter what you say to them, they're always going to have this victim mentality about them, and it's just annoying as fuck. And now there are some dudes where it's like they have a hard time talking to people in general, and they aren't like the typical incels, and I do feel bad for those dudes because like I suffer from social anxiety, you know what I mean? I know what it feels like to be scared to talk to folks in public, you know what I mean? I have those people I have empathy for, but the other motherfuckers that want to get violent with women and force themselves onto women, y'all are hoes.
One of the primary reasons for why the male loneliness epidemic exists is because we as men have this idea and this belief that the less emotional we are, the more masculine we become. But all that does is it creates a numbness within us, and the less emotional you are, the more emptier you're going to be, not more masculine. Some men walk around with titanium hearts as if it were a flex. Some men walk around and wear their inability to connect with others as a badge of honor. And it's always the same story. Repress your emotions, suppress your emotions, and then detach. And then men wonder why there is a male loneliness epidemic and why love seems like it's something out of sight. Ironically, a lot of men will call this being rational, being logical, being strong, being stoic. But let's cut right through it all. Is it really strength if you can't even sit in your own emotions without feeling threatened? And the irony of it all is it starts extremely young. We're told as boys to toughen up, man up, stop crying, stop being so damn sensitive, leave that to the girls. We quickly learn as men that vulnerability invites ridicule. So we get older and we grow as men and we start to literally adapt the idea that if we show more, it makes us look weaker. So instead of expressing, we automatically shut down. A lot of us build a fortress of numbness to where it becomes our second nature, and we cut off emotions sometimes before even fully registering them. Think about it. In society, a man who does not allow his emotions to cloud his judgment, admired and respected and revered by everyone. A man who can walk away from his love like it's just another day, envied by people. But this kind of emotional detachment doesn't make you stronger or more masculine. It just makes you emptier, because you're going to struggle with literally everything, not just love. A man who can't process grief turns it into anger. A man who can't handle disappointment drowns it in distractions. And a man who can't express himself shuts down immediately. And the people who care about this man, they're outside of the walls knocking on those doors that never open. And ironically, the thing that we believe makes us more masculine keeps us isolated. The world does not need more emotionally unavailable men. It needs men who know how to sit with their emotions without letting them explode or erode them.
Male loneliness epidemic, I kind of don't give a fuck, okay? Because on the one hand, I want to have empathy for these guys, and on the other hand, they all kind of suck ass, right? And I'm not talking about your standard socially anxious, awkward guy who has trouble making friends. Those guys have always existed. That is not an epidemic, right? And I feel for those guys, right? If you're a guy who's a little too nerdy, you have trouble making friends, I love you, I got no issue with you, I wish you the best. But if you're a violent misogynist, I kind of have a hard time feeling bad that you're not getting laid. You know what I mean? Like that, good, you don't deserve it. You know? And I get why you might initially fall victim to the alt-right pipeline, right? Because it starts off with, oh, women don't want me. Okay, that could happen naturally, right? That's just whatever it may be. So you get angry at women, which is the wrong response. But not a far-fetched response, right? It is a natural human thing, right? Someone is not doing the thing you want them to do, you get angry at them. Okay. But one should have a moment of clarity at some point along that process, down that pipeline, where you start to realize, wait, this simply isn't strategic. Not even that it's wrong, because it is wrong. But it's not going to get you in a woman's pants. No woman has ever been like, oh yes, a misogynist. That's just what I needed as a man who hates me. Like, where did you think that would get you, is my point. Like, yeah, it's immoral and wrong and fucked up and all these things to be on these alt-right, like, misogynist bullshit things. Like, but it's not even a solid move socially. You know, like it's gonna make you less popular with women to be like that. You know, it's not, like, really, if women weren't sleeping with you, you should become a feminist. That's how you do it. You know? So, I don't know. I'm like, I don't, like, oh, sorry you're lonely because you hate women. Oh, okay, my bad. Sorry. Like, I don't...
Personally, I feel like the male loneliness epidemic came from males. Like, we constantly pushed each other talking about don't cry, don't feel no pain, this make you tough, pain is a motivator, it's not. I'm hurting. My chest hurt. I want to cry. I should be able to shed tears and you not be able to judge me. We all go around talking about this Christianity principle, this Muslim principle, this spirituality principle. You're supposed to treat people like Yeshua is in front of you. You're supposed to treat people like God is in front of you, inside of everybody that you see. You're supposed to treat everybody, man, woman, baby, anything. Where'd that go? Y'all can hurt, bro. Hurt, cry, feel yourself.
Loneliness for me is a state of being. It's a phase in life that we all go through. And it's okay to feel lonely. But it's not a thing that you have to be stuck on forever. Because it's okay to feel lonely. But we're not meant to be lonely forever. I'm an only child. And I'm alone most of the time. But I don't feel lonely most of the time. I try to find outlets. I try to find ways to excel myself, to make myself better at this, make myself better at that. It's just a conquest. We have to keep moving as humans, because if we don't move, we don't excel, then we're gonna get stuck. And when we're stuck, that's when we're gonna feel lonely. That's when we're gonna enter that phase of loneliness, because there's no movement in our lives. We have to keep moving forward, you know? So I think the reason why a lot of people are feeling lonely, a lot of men, is because they're stuck. They're stuck in this phase of life and they don't want to move, or they refuse to get better at something. They refuse to take actions, and that's where they feel stuck. But it's a phase in life that we all go through, this loneliness, but it's not something permanent that we will be lonely forever.
There is no male loneliness epidemic. It's a skill issue. Okay, it's 2025. That Disney love mentality where you can meet a woman, one woman, and be with her forever, that stuff is gone. That time has long past faded. That doesn't exist anymore.
The male loneliness epidemic does exist, okay? And this is not a skill issue, okay? The issue here is you guys not being able to be decent human beings, especially towards women. A lot of you guys have been taught to hate women, okay? You have a women-hating cult. And somehow y'all have been trained to think that women are beneath you, like they're lesser than you. Which, by the way, is one of the reasons why you don't take women out on dates. Y'all be complaining about paying for a $10 coffee date, but then you go and break your homeboy out of jail for $200. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense, right? Like I said before, this epidemic does exist. And guess what? It's your fault.
I don't believe that there's a male loneliness epidemic as it's been described to us. What I believe is going on is a male insecurity epidemic. As in, we're seeing an influx of young men that are deeply insecure, and this insecurity leads them to be very skeptical of their positioning within their friends, family, and lovers' lives. They tend to devalue themselves so much so that they cannot fathom, they cannot believe that the people that they've surrounded themselves with truly and genuinely care for them. Though loneliness is quantifiable as just a feeling, you can feel alone, many people could feel alone, and we could tally that up. It must also be understood that loneliness is more than that. It is an actual state of being, as in you are literally alone. You have nobody you can talk to, nobody that you could call on. That is not the case for so many people. However, they are so insecure in themselves, they believe that people do not value them as they do not value themselves. They look at themselves as a burden within the relationships that they have fostered thus far. It's so many young men whose loneliness is self-propagated, self-inflicted. You are causing yourself to be lonely. There are people there for you. There are resources there for you. However, you are so insecure that you cannot seem to see it. I feel like a real good example is there's a video going around where it's a young man on a podcast and he's talking about how he has a girlfriend. And he says, yeah, I tend to be so insecure within relationships. I push the women in my life to go fuck with other men because I just get mad and I lash out. He said the girl hit him up, was like, hey, do you know this guy that just followed me on Instagram? And he responds, oh, I mean, if he follow you on Instagram and you asking about him, why you don't just go fuck him? Because he's insecure.
The male loneliness epidemic doesn't exist. You niggas are mean, rude, evil, and you don't like women. That is why you're all alone. Nobody wants to be with a partner that secretly fucking hates them. Do you know how many men I've been around that have been like, wow, my girlfriend's actually ugly and I don't like her, but I'm just with her because I don't want to be alone? Do you really think that you deserve to be with someone that you have no intention of being nice to or treating correctly? The only reason you're staying with a girl that you're not attracted to and that you don't even really like is because you want access to pussy. All right? And you know, like they know that. That's not even like a like up for debate. Like they know that. So you guys keep complaining about this male loneliness epidemic. Excuse me. You keep complaining about this male loneliness epidemic. Why don't you fucking do something about it? Why don't you guys maybe take a fucking look in the mirror and think, wow, there's an actual dating problem within Gen Z nowadays. Why do women not want to date us? Maybe it's because you guys are fucking pieces of dog shit. All right? Maybe it's because you guys are mean. And you guys always complain about women saying, oh, like girls, they just have too high of standards nowadays. They just have, they ask for too much. And all we ask for is that you guys are literally just nice to us. And maybe just be a little bit taller than us. And y'all ask for 1 billion different things when you guys want to be in a relationship with us. We ask for 2 things and we're the evilest. But you guys are so evil. And you guys crash the fuck out. Like, and you guys wonder why there's a quote unquote male loneliness epidemic. There is a cure to this non-existent epidemic, but it involves self-reflection. And I don't think a lot of men are willing to do that.
If you're secure in yourself as a man, and if you are like a kind, cool, compassionate human being, then you won't come crying in my comments when I say that the male loneliness epidemic is just a male loser epidemic. It's a male lack of accountability epidemic, because women experience loneliness at the same rates as men. And you know what they don't do? They don't turn into incels. They don't start watching their own version of Andrew Tate. They don't start blaming men for never choosing a nice girl. Ugh, why won't she date me? Because of you, because of who you are, your personality. Look inwards, work on yourself, and then maybe when you are treating a woman like a human being, when you're treating just everybody like a person and not an object, not a thing, not a means to an ends, there you will find the end to the male loneliness epidemic. trying to dig your way out of your loneliness by like buying into the patriarchy that created your loneliness in the first place is just like reinforcing the walls of your own prison. You are making your own situation worse. It comes from in here. Women want a man who's 6'3", jacked, rich. Have you been outside? My girlfriend is hotter than me. Do you know why that is? Because I'm nice. Because I'm kind. Because I've been to therapy and I worked on myself. Try it. It might just do you a little bit of good.